If your enterprise is grappling with risks associated with first-party applications and the supply chain, and you want to explore how to bring your organization's own detection and remediation logic to detect and automatically remediate these risks, then this is the session for you. Corey Amsler, Director of Cybersecurity, General Electric, and Eran Livne, Senior Director, Product Management with Qualys, will give you sharper insights. Please welcome Corey Amsler and Eran Livne to lead the session on detecting and fixing risks in your supply chain and in custom applications.
Hey everybody, hope you can hear me all the way back. So I'm actually going to talk to you about a few new features that capabilities actually that we've added to our platform. I bet most of you will like what you see here because probably most of you will need this in your environment. So let's just jump in. So before I even introduce those new vulnerabilities, I want to start with these new capabilities. I want to start with what we discussed in a previous session, right? About the fact that our TruRisk capability can help you focus on the right vulnerabilities that you need to remediate, right? So in other words, it makes sense of the tons of vulnerabilities that are found in most environments. So every organization should start by focusing on those vulnerabilities that are prioritized by our TruRisk and start the effort on remediating that. But once you get there, you'll figure out it's not enough because there are other risks that you have to be able to measure and be able to respond to. In our session, we'll talk about this other risk, and I'm going to introduce you this risk, and we're going to talk about how we can help you mitigate and, first of all, measure, communicate, and then eliminate this risk. So let's start with open source. Everybody knows open source. Let's see some numbers. 79% of your software that are running on servers are open source, is open source. Okay? It's a very large number. 96% of first-party applications, so the application that you guys build, 96% out of this running open source components. In other words, based on those two numbers, you can see open source is everywhere. It's not something we can ignore. Even worse, 40+% of those vulnerabilities are high or higher, high risk or higher, meaning those vulnerability matters. Last but not least, and I always, unfortunately, still have to use the word log4shell in every discussion about open source, right? We all experience log4shell. Log4shell is a great example, but still, this is a marquee, right? A marquee vulnerability everybody had to address. Still, 52% of our enterprises spent more than a month to be able to remediate it. And we all remember that this thing happened during the holiday season, which doesn't contribute to us help remediating. Second thing that I want to talk about is first-party application risk. So we discussed open source. Now let's expand our measurement to our first-party application. What do I mean by first-party application? Two things. First, our homegrown application. Those are applications that we build ourselves. We have developers in-house, and they build their own application, your own application that you deploy in your environment. In other words, those applications do not have official CVEs, right? If you're developing, write a code that has bugs, there's no CVE for it. It's your CVE. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have an application that is deployed on thousands of your assets. Okay, now, you have a great developer. He actually already left the company, but he wrote great code. But he had one problem. Somewhere in his code, he has password that is unencrypted. Okay? So you have an application where the developer made a mistake, and the password is not encrypted. Now, a few months after you deploy this application to all your environment, you have a pen tester coming in and running a pen test against this your guy code. And he finds this unencrypted password, which is not a good thing. What we will do? Most of us know to shift left, right? So let's fix it at the source and then deploy it. Great idea. 2, 3, 4 weeks until it's live, right? But even more importantly, how do you know if this the password that is exposed, how do you know where it is in production? Which machine in production have this the password unencrypted? That's what we called homegrown application. We need to measure this risk. We need to be able to respond and be able to write something that can flag all those applications, our own application, our custom application, that are in production and have this security flow. That's one thing. Second thing that I want to talk about is your own unique environmental risk. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. And this is something that is specifically to you guys. So I cannot give, the example I give you is from other customer, but you have to think about how does it affect your environment. So a few examples. Think about some customer have the requirement to have antivirus running on every device. If an antivirus is not running, this is a legitimate vulnerability, right? This is a risk that we have to measure, we have to communicate, and we have to deal with, like any other risk. So that's one example. Another example, let's say that you do not allow any browser plugin. If you have a specific browser plugin, there's a vulnerability on this asset, and we want to be able, again, to measure, communicate, and fix this risk. So that's what we call first-party application and your own custom risk, and we have to be able to deal with it. Few more examples, SBOM and software as a service application. We do have a session about SBOM, so we're not going to go into more details. But the end result here is that if you look at our true risk that we were able to prioritize before, remember, now when we expanded our reach, we look for more. We look for open source. We look for our custom applications, and we start to measure them, the risk can change. And it's actually very common. So we have to take those into consideration, and we have to address those in our application. So how can we help you? How can we be ready for the next Log4Shell? How can we be ready to address our open source and custom application? Let's start with open source. We introduce, as part of our custom assessment and remediation, the ability to do actually 3 things. First, let's understand the challenge. We all remember Log4Shell. The problem with open source is that it's not obvious where to find it. You have literally to scan your entire file system, go into your zip, your jars, your wars, whatever you have to go into, and find all the classes or the individual files that has this open source vulnerability. Example, again, Log4Shell. So we need to do that. You cannot do it with a regular scan. It's just too much CPU and memory intensive. So we can do it now completely in parallel of your regular scans. Okay, so you can configure a different schedule, a different targeting, and run those in-depth scans. But the best thing about it is the second bullet here, inventory. Once you run it, and you can run it once in a week, once in a month even, now you have an inventory of all your open source components. Next time Log4Shell happens, next time OpenSSL happens, next time curl happens, you can go and query this database and figure out exactly where you have this specific class with this specific version. So you're ready. Now, to make it even better, our research team created 50K, and we're working, of course, adding more and more, 15,000 vulnerabilities for open source, meaning all this information that we collect are matched against those vulnerabilities, and those vulnerabilities will be part of your VMDR. So now those goes into your true risk, and you can go ahead and prioritize them and take the right action to fix those. So that's what we call open source, a really good capability, highly recommended if you guys are worried about the next Log4Shell, which I hope most of us are. That can help significantly. Let's see how we deal with our own custom applications. We built in our car product the ability to create custom QIDs. I like to call it bring your own QID. What it means? Very, very simple. You can use one of those languages, scripting languages, write a script that the result of the script will either flag or unflag a vulnerability. Okay? So based on the result of the script, we will figure out if the vulnerability is there or not. The important thing is the result, the flag, the QID, is like any other QID in the system. So now you have your own QID that is part of your true risk, part of your report, part of your knowledge base, like any other QID. The only difference, it's only seen in your subscription. So you can create your own script to detect those, the password example that I gave you, right? You can create a script that finds if there is an open password, the password is not encrypted, and flag this device as vulnerable. And literally, you can do whatever you need. So once we collected all this extra data, once we measure it, remember elimination, we need to be able to fix it, because without fixing it, knowing is great, but we want to reduce the risk. So you can use the same technology to create your custom elimination, meaning You created a QID, a custom QID that detects this password. Now you can create another script that removes this password or encrypt this password. Okay? You created a script that makes sure that antivirus is not running on the device, and if it's not running, you can actually run it. So it's closing the loop. You can create your own measurement, your own signatures, and on top of that, create the fixing, the elimination, and everything is fully integrated into our VMDR. And with that, let me do a quick demo. And if we can switch to the demo. And I'm going to show you how you create your own QIDs in our platform. So let's run it. So just let's start with our TrueRisk, which is 609. And I'm going to go to our knowledge base. This is VMDR. From VMDR, I'm creating a new QID, custom QID. I give it a name. I give it a description. And what I'm trying to do, by the way, I'm creating here a custom QID to find all those macros, all those Office that has macro enabled. Nobody wants macro. I hope you don't want macro enabled on your Office. So we're going to find all those instances and flag them and create a QID just for them. So I'm going to create a severity 4. You can decide what you want. See here, I'm going to target Windows initially. I'm going to give it a QDS so I can give it the score. It's going to be a potential type of vulnerability. I'm going to write it in PowerShell. Okay, I'm going to categorize it so it will be easy for me to track everything. I'm going to configure other parameters here, but more important is the script. We'll paste the script in a second. So here's the core. This is your own script. Okay? You created a script that finds those macros. What's important is what the script returns. So you can see here, it either returned 5 or 10. If it returned 5, if your script, your logic, whatever your logic does, if it returned 5, this vulnerability will be detected. If it returned 10, it will be non-detected. And by the way, we have a large library of templates. Now, if we go into here, you can see actually this is the script that I created. You can see you have a QID here. This is your unique QID number, only available in your subscription, and it's part of VMDR. You'll see in a second, it's part of a knowledge base. And again, we have a large library of those custom scripts, so you don't have to start from scratch. You can use as templates. You can see here in the knowledge base, this is only in your knowledge base, only available for your subscription. So what I'm going to go now, I'm going to go back to CART, or Custom Assessment and Remediation, and I'm going to schedule this script to run. Okay? So this script will run based on a specific schedule because we do not want to run your script on a regular basis like we run our scanning. Right? So you can create your targeting here, and you can say which assets we want to run this custom QID on. In this case, I'm running on all my workstations. And now I'm going to select when, so we can schedule it. So let's run it a few times a day. So every 4 hours in this case. And now I'm running it. Once it runs, it's now part of your VMDR. It will run on those assets, calculate based on, remember, if it returned 5 or 10, based on that, it will either flag or unflag the vulnerability on your specific asset and return the result of VMDR. And you'll see how it looks like in a second. So if I go, let's go to the Vulnerabilities tab. And I can query for this specific QID, this custom QID. By the way, they all start with 5. And you can see here the result, right? Like any other QID. Now, this is part, you have the QDS. This is part of your TrueRisk, part of your calculation, nothing new. So with that, you can also see all the information. Sorry, it went so fast. But when you drill down to the vulnerability, you'll see all the finding, the reason we detected this vulnerability. Again, based on your code, you provide this, and everything is like any other QID in the system. And of course, because I just added a new vulnerability, my score can jump up. And with that, I would like to stop the video here, stop the demo here, and I would like to invite Corey from General Electric to the stage, and he will also talk about CAR and how they use the custom QID. I think it's a very, very interesting story that I think we want to share with you guys. Corey?
Thanks, Eran. Hi, I'm Corey Amsler with General Electric. My title is Director Risk Management EVM. So I am one of those 8 that Sumit talked about The other 7 out there with risk, let's meet in the back. We'll have a little party at the end, okay? Also, I know everyone's hungry. I know I am the last person between you and Mickey Mouse-shaped cookies or whatever they have out there for snacks. So we're going to go ahead and be brief. I have a vast knowledge across the IT spectrum. Started, desk side, doing some server administration. 5 years in patching space, and then I flipped on the other side, and I said, it's a lot more fun to yell at the people to patch than it is to have to patch. So, also, in my spare time, I'm a board member at March of Dimes for the Atlanta market. So General Electric, I think a lot of you probably know the meatball that you see up on the screen. Most of you were probably touched by GE on your way here, right? Every 2 seconds, an airplane takes off with our technology on it. And it's pretty amazing, right? What you might not know as well is from a power division, we actually power 1/3 of the world. So we're founded in 1892, headquartered in Boston, Massachusetts. Right now, 150,000 employees and focused on aerospace and power. You might have heard as well, we are going into 2 investment level grade companies here in Q2 of next year. Now I want to focus on the problem that I'm here to talk about. Everyone has that CISO moment where they come and knock on your door, or in this day and age post-COVID, ping you on whatever social app you're talking on, right? And they say, hey, someone told me about this CVE, or I saw it on the news, or whatever. Well, that happened here with Oracle EBS Web Desktop Application Integrator, right? Long words, doesn't matter. It's a bad exploit that we had. So we looked at it, and we determined that, Qualys wasn't able to detect it at that stage, so we came up with a solution. We leveraged our 10-year partnership with Qualys. We worked with our TM. He was able to introduce us to a new technology at the time called CAR, which is custom assessment and remediation. Allows you to run scripts on the assets, anything that has a cloud agent out there. We're able to get a trial of that, and with that, you're able to make your own scripts, as you can see on the screen here. A little snippet, we actually wrote this one in Bash because we were focused on our Linux VMs at the time, right? We're able to work with our application teams. Who here would love to be tighter in with your application teams? Everybody, right? Because the better relationship we have with them, the quicker our vulnerabilities are going to get remediated. That's what this did, right? So we worked with our Oracle team. We're not an Oracle expert, right? We know how to find vulnerabilities. We don't know the inner workings of every system. So that was critical. We had the application teams there side by side, writing this code, testing it over and over and over again until we were confident that we could find the vulnerabilities. Now our solution here for the deployment, we're able to deploy that script across our enterprise, look for any vulnerability that had the Oracle EBS suite on it. With that, then, with Qualys's custom QUID creation, all of the vulnerabilities are all the positives that we found via the script. We're able to generate a QUID, flowed into VMDR, and we're able to follow all of our standard downstream processes. So huge win for us, right? No more spreadsheet warriors. So our outcomes here, we're able to reduce our risk by approximately 95%. You're going to say, why is it 95%? Who here wants to say that they know 100% of their network, right? So we're hedging our bets there a little bit, but for this CVE, we're able to reduce the exposure by, we know, of 95%. And then the key here as well is we're ready for the next 0 day, right? If our partner in Qualys isn't able to to have that remediation detection or vulnerability detection soon enough, we're able to work on it in-house with that partnership with our application teams that we just grew tighter with, right? Also, we're able to expand our vulnerability discovery tool set, right? Car, I'm showing you, you can do custom quids on it, but you can also use it just for information gathering. You want to know specific assets on here, or you want to know what application has configured correctly to point to this endpoint instead of a rogue endpoint somewhere else. You're able to write detections in there to look for that, and then you can just parse through it. So, recap on this, the seamless integration to our downstream processes as well. Right? If you have a coded campaign there, we're able to, a lot of us pull our data out of Qualys into other tools. We're able to ingest that in straight through the APIs because the quid is already in there. It's not just pulling out a car, finding an Excel sheet, trying to merge all that stuff, right? And then that's invaluable, but the priceless point here is, again, that strengthened partnership with our application teams, right? They no longer look at us as the evil person on the other side of the wall trying to just yell at them. We understand each other now. We're able to get a partnership there and know that we're all going for the greater good. If you'd like to follow me, here's my LinkedIn profile. I don't post much, but we can certainly be friends. So I'd like to invite Eran back out to the stage. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
So, see my last screen. Okay, so I just want to say, guys, this is a new technology. We released most of it, I think, 2 months ago or months ago. So hopefully you'll find it very, very useful. I want to do one more thing here. So we have, after the break, we have actually 2 or 3 very, very interesting sessions that I know it's late, but I do want you to join us. I have a session, but before that, we have a session about our new ETM, so our new enterprise tourist. Again, very, very interesting, something completely different. Following by our elimination session that I'm going to lead with our customer from the New Orleans Saints, Sony Music, and Associate British Food. So we're going to get a lot of interesting content there. And we have a huge announcement I'm going to show you in the other session. I'm going to show really, really, I will say, amazing new technologies. So with a nice demo. So hopefully everybody can join us for the session later on. The 4:30, as you can imagine, it's not, just read it as later. And with that, thank you very much.